Okay, everybody, welcome to Turndog Talks 2. I'm delighted to be joined by Mike McDerment, who is the main man behind Freshbooks.com, the accounting software that I use. So I came across it via Jim Hopkinson, someone who I follow online, and you guys sponsor it. So, Mike, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And indeed, we are going to be talking about my new book, The Successful Mistakes. I'm going to be grilling Mike about the mistakes he's made and how he overcame them. But first, Mike, please just give us a bit of an indication of who you are and what it is that you do over at FreshBooks.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Mike McDermott. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FreshBooks, and we're the leaders in cloud accounting for small business owners. So, I guess my background is I really built it for myself. I was doing a very small agent freelance work, helping people build, websites and such. One day I saved over an invoice and got very frustrated with that and ended up, through my frustration, creating a simple online service to bill my clients. And, since that fateful day in January 2003, over 5 million people have used FreshBooks, and we help people collect, very small businesses, so, less than 10 employees, collect billions of dollars every year. And very, very pleased to help them, with our special emphasis on executing extraordinary experiences every day, which is all about having excellent customer service and building products that are full of delightful experiences.
Absolutely, and cloud accounting is such a buzzword at the minute. It's obviously anything to do with the cloud at the minute is an exciting prospect. So, and you guys were one of the first to really implement it into your sort of business.
Yeah, I mean, it was so funny because we sort of repositioned FreshBooks from online invoicing to the leaders in cloud accounting, so moving from invoicing to accounting. And when we did that, we also went from online to cloud, and the reason was because online only covers what's available on the internet, but cloud also includes things like mobile. I think of cloud as just anywhere, any device, anytime, as opposed to online just being through a web browser. And so I think it is an exciting time for anyone really, but especially small business owners, now because you can have your business in your pocket with you on your phone, as well as back at the office on your computer, and that's very, very exciting. Helps you be more productive and get more stuff done.
Definitely, and I was very excited when the app came out, probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago now, because when I've been traveling down to London, it's very handy to just get out your phone and just kind of keep it on
Yeah.
top. So yeah.
Or your iPad or whatever it is. So it's really nice. It's a real honor to help productive people be more productive, and that's a big part of what we do.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'd like you to think back to when you first started in 2003. Is that correct? Yeah.
Mhm.
And when you first set up a business, if you could do one thing differently, hindsight being the great thing that it is, what would it be?
I certainly don't have many regrets. A lot of the problems that I look back on were ones that, there weren't straightforward answers to. So the technologies people use today to build products weren't available for us back then. I would love if I could look back and say, if you had great product development knowledge, that would be handy. But, we've had to learn the ropes and learn how to do that as we go, and that's worked out okay. Yeah, in terms of patented answer for things that we got wrong, one thing we didn't do is we didn't name our company very well. We didn't spend any time on it. I think I underestimated the importance of that. And so when we launched, we actually called the company Second Sight. So 2NDSITE, which can be spelled there's really, when you hear Second Sight, there's like 7 different ways to spell it, and it has no clear meaning. It doesn't describe your category, your benefit, your difference, is utterly forgettable. So we ended up in 2006 renaming to FreshBooks, and renaming and kind of touching up our brand image, or totally redoing it, completely honest. and it was a real inflection point for the growth of the business. I think taking the time to invest in creating a name, I don't think it matters so much if you're selling to, say, enterprises, but if you're selling to consumers or small business owners, anyone where the market's more than like 1,000 prospects or 10,000 prospects, I think brand really, really, really matters. So that was a big deal.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of those things that I think, especially if the person who's behind a company is more on the technical side, the idea of a name and the brand and the logo and all those things can just kind of be put to one side. It's like, well, it'll figure itself out. We'll sort it out later. But they can have such a massive effect on the direction that you go in months, years down the line.
Yeah, I think I'll just for sake of well, just for the sake of clarification, I was a marketer, right?
Okay.
And so I had expertise there, and I undervalued brand. And I've met a lot of engineers and technical people who are very picky about the quality and taste of the things they work with. So I think it's just one of those things where you're really busy getting something done, and that's the most important thing when you're an entrepreneur, is like get stuff done.
Yeah.
We just said, oh, this naming thing, let's just carry on, because it was really getting in the way of us getting other things done. And hindsight being what it is, I wish we'd valued that a little more. But you know what? We might not have been here, and the opportunity to rebrand rename proved really powerful. It was just an excuse to go and talk to our customers and get them excited about what we were doing, and they were. So who's to say we'd be here today if we didn't rename? Because
Absolutely. I always think it's good for a business to kind of have that rebrand or relaunch, a year, maybe 2 years afterwards, because even if it doesn't matter how much research you do and how much planning and how well you know that industry, it's not until you actually start putting your hand in there and getting dirty that you start to feel where you are, where you belong in that journey. And sometimes the opportunity to relaunch 18 months, 2 years later, it just allows you to go from good to great.
Yeah, well, I like to think that's the case. It's an investment, right? And you have to slow down to do it, but inevitably you learn a lot and you build momentum once you get into market, and things have changed, and so you want to capture that stuff. And yeah. Well, for all of these reasons and more, it's you can turn that initial mistake into an opportunity, and that's what entrepreneurs do. You're going to turn lemons into lemonade every single day, and so we used renaming our company to achieve that.
Well, it certainly worked out okay. It certainly worked out okay. So I want you to think, if you may, about the biggest mistake that you've made in the last, well, nearly a decade. In fact, it'll be a decade next year that you've been around. So just tell us a little bit about that story and the ins and outs of what happened.
Mm-hmm. So the classic one is renaming our company, but I'll give you another one here as well, which is once we get a little steam built up, we started going, and I really believe in data and analysis, and I think we can learn from it. We can help our customers learn from it. So I was very big on this, and we made some significant investments in our internal operations and organizing them around data, and the idea being that we were going to help our customers learn from their data. And we invested in this software, which is like an enterprise software. The details don't really matter too much, but we basically use this really complicated, expensive tool in a very still relatively immature and developing business. We were 50, 60 people. We're only 110 today. But the long and the short of it is we probably spent about $1.5 million, right, over time. And eventually we killed the project, right? And what was great is we had a couple people who got really interested in the area, and they were able to basically, recreate all that work and use Word and Excel in a matter of months. So like 2 people, 3 months, and you're in a better place than you'd been after spending all this time and effort and money. And so I think there's there's lots of lessons. Sometimes you have to learn these things. So it's an expensive lesson, but I apply that lesson to a lot of the things we do today. And I'd heard that lesson from other people, right? So I think sometimes you need to learn things for yourself. Because you can read all the textbooks, but sometimes you just need to learn things for yourself. And so, again, I sort of fundamentally don't believe in mistakes or failures. I think it's just, you're going to have an opportunity to learn at the end of this thing. And even when things go well, I think it's important to learn from it and then just sort of reapply the nuggets as you carry on.
I totally agree with that. So the data, was it in a case of allowing the consumer, I suppose in this case the small business owner, to understand the journey that they were taking, or was it data from your side?
It was both, right? So we offer a service where small business owners can compare themselves. Like, first of all, they get a little MBA report of their business, like on average, this is how long it takes your customers to pay you, and this kind of thing. And what we offer is an ability for them to compare themselves to other businesses like theirs. So if you're a lawyer and it takes you 36 days on average for your clients to pay you, you can see that, you know what, it takes other lawyers, 40 days. So you're doing a really good job on this.
Okay.
And so, that kind of benchmarking stuff is very powerful for small business owners. And yeah, so we wanted to do more things along those lines and do them better than we, like just sort of build on what we'd started. And so that was the customer facing piece of it. And then, as you grow a business, and since I'm speaking with entrepreneurs, it's really important to, so we had a goal at the time is know your impact, which is, when you're working day to day, it's really important to have a line of sight to how you're contributing. And especially with the data-driven web kind of business, is you can really see that by measuring, outcomes from your activities. And I was sort of hell bent on being able to provide that for everybody. I think the lesson there now is if you just focus on the activities and trying to sort of max those out and make sure that they're on track, the data. I mean, you're probably going to have the results happen, but I was very intent on making sure everybody had like a dashboard and a scorecard for the stuff they did, and we kind of have that now, but it was a long time coming.
Wow. So how long ago was this when you used this software, which turned out to not quite cut the mustard?
Well, it's probably 2010, and it's not to say the tools were broken. It was just we didn't know how to use them, right?
Okay.
So there's another lesson. I'm sure there's lessons, but
There's so many. So what was it like? Because obviously, sitting at the top, sort of looking down at everything else, you're seeing the money going out. You know what you want the service to do. You know what you want these tools to do, and it's not quite working. How was it on an emotional sense seeing that money go down? Was it a worry, or did you think, right, just have to move
well,
on?
I'll be honest with you. Like, I have not built a business of this scale before. Like this, I'm sort of like a third-time entrepreneur, but this is a pretty good-sized business at 110 people. Like, we're still small, but we're growing. And my mindset has been that we've got a lot of growing left to do, and it continues to be. So very different kind of business. And I think. I think again, as an entrepreneur, the emotional piece. One of the hardest things about it was, killing it, right? Knowing when to kill it, knowing that you could kill it, because you start, it's like throwing good money after bad. But how do you know it's broken, right? Like, how do you really? Are you sure? Maybe we're just around the corner,
Yeah.
and find things keep repeating themselves. Be like the people. So is it, the people, the process, the technology? Like, what's broken here? And I think being a little more decisive about these things a little sooner is actually, something that I personally took away from this, right? Which is, and again, that's one of these lessons that's really valuable to learn. Like, hey, if you see the same thing keep repeating itself, better act now. And I think that's a critical sort of management and leadership thing, and that's been really helpful as time goes on. But again, I don't think you can, it's hard to read about something like that.
It is. It's so tough because, like you say, you don't know whether something's failing or if it's just taking a little bit longer to mature. Because like you could end it and then but next month is when it might have hit its tipping point and worked. So it's a tough decision to make, and I suppose that's just one of the parts of being an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Yeah, you kind of have to balance your optimism, with like the facts you're picking up, right?
Yeah,
Because I always believe everything's going to get sorted right around the corner, right? That's I guess how I, was able to spend like 3.5 years in my parents' basement trying to start this business, and just believe that you're heading somewhere and you're going to get somewhere. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to make the same mistake for 3.5 years, right? So yeah, finding what that balance is between, your like, I really see it as like I can see potential, right? Like I see potential. So, that can be problematic when you got to recognize like what's the reality in front of you and how do you contend with that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier that this one mistake, it's taught you how to now approach different things in the business moving forward. One of them, I'm guessing, is this way of looking and knowing when to pull the plug or when to keep going. What else did you learn from this one mistake?
Ooh. Okay, I think it might be. I mean, I feel like I've rehashed this thing a few times now. So, I think all the things that you sort of previously mentioned, right, is how to understand the pattern of something being broken, having the fortitude to make a change sooner, to not bring a really heavy tool in, try and find something that's, simple and cheaper and kind of test your way into doing something. We could have tried an approach like that with managing our own data. And then finally, I think in the absence of data, most businesses don't have the data that we have available to us, right? So they measure activities and projects and things that get completed and timelines. And I think I sort of overreached, and maybe it's like a vision thing. I can see how having this other stuff would be great, but there's a lot of stuff you can still do even if you don't have the perfect solution. And I think you take those three things, and it was a pretty valuable experience in the end.
Okay. What about from a personal point of view? Do you now approach something new coming into the business, whether it's maybe a new sort of employee or a new process, a new software that's coming in? Has it made you look at it in a different way? Are you still confident going ahead with things like that, or does it make you sort of second guess and go, actually, maybe we should do a bit more research into it? Has it affected how you make decisions, I suppose?
Well, sure, and just sort of replaying that in a slightly different way. Yeah, I mean, now you want to, instead of going with like the most expensive, most sophisticated solution, find something cheap and cheerful. And again, I read the book on this one, and I just thought it didn't apply to me, and or something, or just suspended disbelief and figured we could figure it out because we'd never really encountered anything we couldn't solve before. So, I mean, I think trying to start with something smaller and test your way in before you make a big investment. And ironically, this is the kind of thing I've done in all kinds of other areas, but I didn't apply it to this one because I was so, I guess I could just see so clearly, where I wanted to get to with it. But, c'est la vie, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Well, I don't think it undermines confidence or anything. And anything, it's, I think it's how you take these opportunities to learn something and reapply them. I think they sort of build confidence, right? Hey, we survived this and we got a lot of useful stuff out of it that we can replay and use to make better decisions going forward. We're actually sort of stronger for that, right? So, yeah.
So that's very good. That's great to hear that obviously something which was quite costly on the financial side, you were able to turn it around and you were able to make it into something very proactive and moving forward it'll probably grow and grow and grow. So that's fantastic to hear. And obviously it will have a huge effect on the rest of the business going forward too, I'm guessing. So just before we finish up, if you could share one piece of advice to a new entrepreneur, someone young just starting out, what sage words would you share?
Yeah, so I think we've seen just some of the stuff we talked about, like, most entrepreneurs, they come wired a certain way, right? Maybe they have a clear vision of where they're going to, or they see lots of opportunity in lots of places. And, I certainly, you could say you suffer from those things, or you could say you realize that most people aren't wired that way, and it's a huge, huge asset. And so for me, one of the challenges has always been that I could see a lot of opportunity. And when we were getting going, it's hard to see progress sometimes as a really small company, and that can be frustrating if you're not able to move fast enough. And what I found was, I saw at one point I almost stopped doing Freshbooks because I saw another opportunity that I was interested in, and at the same time as I almost stopped doing Freshbooks and starting this other thing, I was also trying to do like 10 things at once. And so one day I spoke with one of my advisors, and he said, "Mike, there's a 4-letter word in business. That's focus." And what he meant by that is, because obviously focus is a 5-letter word. He meant that if you don't.
I was having to think that one, so I was having to think there for a second.
Yeah, yeah. So if you don't focus, you're going to get yourself in a pile of trouble, for lack of a better word. I think focus is critical, and this comes to execution and getting stuff done, which we were good at. But I think the entrepreneurial mindset, it can wander a little or try to do too many things at one time. And one of the lessons for me is be focused. And we've played this out with FreshBooks over the years. And we stayed as an invoicing only company from a marketing perspective for almost a decade. And now we're sort of expanding into accounting related services with the ability to bring in expenses and prepare financial statements, that kind of thing. And that focus has served us very well. And I think you can really distract your organization and your team and yourself by trying to do too many things at one time. And focus enables execution, and again, execution is everything. So I would encourage you to focus, pick something, and go deep. And my experience has been that once you start going, you realize, oh my gosh, this is a very deep thing. Even the smallest thing, it may seem simple. It's like you get in there and it's very, very deep. So just get out your shovel or your paddle, or whatever it is, and stay working at it. And you'll drop down a couple rabbit holes, but hopefully you come up the other side and you've gotten a lot done and earned yourself a lot of really happy customers.
Fantastic. And did you always have some people around you to help you stay focused? Because I've always found that an entrepreneur, the mindset, as they get more experience, that sort of focus, that I guess business rationale gets better. But I've known so many people who've always needed that very strong right hand man stood to the side to just say, you know what, just take a step back and let's rehash this. Did you need that sort of person, or were you able to pick it up yourself?
No, I mean, again, in that example there, I had an advisor who kind of counseled me this way. I think it's really dangerous to think you know it all. I don't suffer from that, fortunately. There's certain things where I'm pretty determined to get them done a certain way. But I'm pretty open to the fact that I haven't done this before, and I need to draw on other people's experiences, lest I make all kinds of mistakes. So we really haven't made that many mistakes. We focused on that here, and I think that's I think people like to see what other mistakes people made so they can learn from them too, just like we did. But by and large, when I look back, I don't really have any regrets or really think we pooched anything. I think it's just part of our path. And I think thanks to advisors, we've avoided a lot of mistakes. And I've gotten good shaping for how we want to behave as a company and treat our people and all these kinds of things that frankly really matter and are, they're very important, but they're hard to figure out on your own.
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer in having sort of mentors, advisors, different people of different skill sets around you to keep you grounded, keep you on the right path. So, well, Mike, it's been absolutely fascinating. What an amazing insight. Thank you so much for joining me today and taking out of your very busy day pre-Christmas.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I wish you and all your viewers and your soon-to-be readership a very happy holiday. And thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you very much, and indeed, viewer, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've picked up some fine skills and some sage words, so thank you very much.
Okay, cheers.